I think I mentioned the phrase briefly. I don't know whether you like the phrase or not, but I do think this is bloodstream rather than bolt-on, isn't it? This is part of the fabric of school. It's part of the culture of school. And so rather than me waffling on, we're going to hear from two very experienced teachers who are absolutely doing the job now, immersed in the practice now. Assistant head teacher Shiven Chetty at Lee Chapel Primary, and Sam Winton, deputy head teacher at St Margaret's, Church of England Primary School. I hope you're there. It's great to welcome you.
Hello.
Hello.
Brilliant. The technology works. You never really know, do you? You never really know. But it's absolutely, I'm so chuffed that you're here, because it's so important to actually hear from experienced teachers like yourselves who are actually in the thick of it. Now, I had 21 years working in schools, and I was a primary head, and I left about 18 months ago. So I'm not in that exclusive group of educators who have steered their charges through the last year. So it must have been extraordinary. So shall we kick off with the first question, if that's okay? And it's kind of alluding to that, really. How have your pupils been coping with this latest lockdown, and maybe some of the key concerns from parents as well in this most recent chapter, from a healthy body, healthy mind point of view? What do you think, Sam?
I think this lockdown is quite different to the first lockdown. I think when it was the first lockdown, we had the hot weather, the sunshine. I think generally mental health and wellbeing was in a little bit of a better place. This lockdown, we have seen a change. Some are coping really, really well. They're doing the remote learning. They're still in touch with friends, on phones and things. But there are pockets where children are really struggling with this. We contact children and their parents weekly, and we're often hearing that there are changes in behaviour. Children are struggling with their emotions, they're getting cross and not wanting to engage in the remote learning. So I think they found it harder this time round.
Right, yeah, and that's entirely understandable, isn't it? And some of the grown-ups too, I think. Is that the same for you, Shiv?
Yeah, I mean, on the whole, it's been positive. It has been positive. But as Sam was saying, it has been harder as the time has progressed. I guess it started off, we were going, yes, here we go, this is how we're going to do it. But as the weeks started to go by, we started to see more and more children finding it harder to work from home, which is understandable. And especially by the end of half term, I think all of us were exhausted, and it was snowing as well. Getting children to work with the snow. And then to get them to learn was very hard to get our reluctant learners to get going. But overall, it has been positive. There have been places that we've had to work with the parents, and we're constantly asking parents, how can we support you? What can we do? Teachers have been phoning home in certain cases as well, just keeping an eye on the children, because our remote teachers have been different to our teachers that they have in school. Right. So we've made sure that the class teachers have been phoning home as well to those children. But we've got a real dedicated team to just work with the parents to see if we can keep them motivated and keep the kids motivated as well, of course.
And when we've chatted in the past, I know you've said that you've had a significant number of key workers children in school, more than in the previous lockdowns, but obviously because of the different definitions perhaps that are in place now. I think, Sam, I believe you said that almost half, 48% of your children are in. So, yeah. And you're faced with this extraordinary challenge of teaching, I don't know, perhaps a third, perhaps even in your case, a half of the class there physically, while synchronously teaching the children at home. Have you seen any difference in the emotions and the sort of the resilience and the well-being of the children in school compared with at home, vice versa? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we have. I think that the children that are in school, I mean, we've tried to mirror the learning as much as possible. So those at home are doing what the children in school are doing. However, there's nothing like having a teacher and a teaching assistant working with you. So actually the children in school, they're far more confident with the work and the learning because they have the adult support there. At home, you've got parents that are juggling their own jobs perhaps, as well as homeschooling. So very often the kind of feedback we're getting from parents is either they don't have the time, or they don't have the sort of capacity to deal with the tantrums, the tears. Right. It's a real challenge, and I think for the children, knowing that their peers, a lot of their peers are in school, is tough for them.
Yes, I bet it is. Yes, of course it is actually. Yeah, and is that the case at Lee Chapel, Shiv?
Yeah,
same numbers and.
we're about 300, but we're a full form, so we're, that's about a quarter of what we have.
Right.
But nevertheless, we have a lot of, we serve a hospital just up the road. So for our children who have been coming into school, they've been worried about their parents and their loved ones who are working at the hospital. So we've had to deal with that and talk to them about that, but giving them a forum to talk to us about it. But yeah, it's I mean, where children have found it hard at school, at home, should I say, at the last lockdown, we were welcoming children more and more back, but because it's been so high this time, we haven't been able to do that. So it has very much been, we try and support as much as we can at home. We don't want to have too many children in school just because of how high the rates have been this time. Again, it's through constant calling, constant support to see how we can help them. That's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And do you foresee any challenges? Do you foresee any challenges when everybody returns to school? It's a daft question, really, but particularly from a socializing point of view, will your priorities perhaps have changed from a socializing and behavioural point of view? What's in your in tray in that regard, Sam?
Well, we're a Thrive school as well, so we will be Thrive.
What does that mean? Sorry.
It's a program that we use at school. I'm sure a lot of other schools use it as well. Right. And it's a way of screening children and looking at their sort of social, emotional, mental health.
Right.
And then it's a bit like a Boxall profile. It will give us targets for children to work towards. So we will be Thrive screening all children when they return to school to see how their emotional and sort of mental health is and what we can do to support that. But we will also be block teaching the RSHE when we get back as a way of integrating them back into school because they enjoy the sessions and it enables them to talk and voice their feelings and concerns and worries. But we envision that the next couple of weeks, well, after the 8th of March, it's going to be challenging and we're going to have to tread carefully with these children.
Yeah. Gosh, that Thrive thing sounds really interesting. So it's
brilliant. It's very effective. And what we end up with is each class will probably have a little group that will then have an intervention in whatever it is that they are needing at that time.
And teaching the RSHE curriculum, as you say, I think, affords you the opportunity to if you're going to do it in kind of intensively, to have those lengthier discussions when you can air some of the concerns that they might have. And you've got the safety net of a script, if you like.
Yes.
A framework to do it.
Absolutely.
It's timely. And Shiv, what do you foresee? Any problems from that respect?
I think the kids really want to see their friends. I think that's
of course they do. Yeah,
big for them. And socialization wise, I think when they see their friends, it's going to be a massive deal for them. I know my little girls can't wait to see their friends. They see them on the screen or on their phones, and they talk, but not really, but to see their friends is going to be a big deal. We do teach PSHE and RSE every week, so that's going to be an opportunity for where we're going to talk to them as well. We want to give them that space and we give them that chance to talk in a very secure place where they want to express themselves. So that's really important to us. That's that side of it. And the other side of it is we're worried about them academically as well. We really are, especially Key Stage 1. They've missed so much. So just getting them back on track is going to be difficult. It is going to be difficult. So many things we've got to balance there, of course. Yeah.
It's such an interesting moment, isn't it? Because I have 4 children myself, and I can see how they've grown as well. So we've got this odd dilemma, this odd sort of not dichotomy, but we've got this unique situation where they certainly, perhaps, I think they will be behind in certain measurable aspects of their education. But on the other hand, they'll have grown as well, won't they? So and they need to be recognised to have grown. Physically they'll have grown, and mentally and emotionally, I think they'll have had to have grown to have coped. Do you know what I mean? Isn't that interesting? So you've got this odd dynamic now when they come back. And from an RSHE point of view, have you been able to continue? Have you chosen to continue or pause with your RSHE teaching in the last few months remotely? If I can come to you, Shiv, first, what do you think? Have you continued any of that?
Yes, we have continued it.
Right.
Absolutely. So it's been weekly that we've continued it. However, we have had to adapt it because there are some areas that we thought were more suited to be in classroom rather than being at home. Things to do with sex education. They do it higher up anyway, but I think in a classroom is far more positive environment for them to be doing.
This is what Lucy was
as well as the same-sex relationships as well, which is the new thing for lower down in the school, which is wonderful. It is wonderful, but we want to be able to talk to them in an open and unbiased way, which unfortunately we can't guarantee at home. So we believe, well, we decided that certain things should be taught at home and certain things are going to be taught when they return back to school. Yeah, that's where we are with that.
Yeah, I can see that. And Sam, is that how have you sort of continued that learning provision for this curriculum?
We've actually kind of done the opposite of that, and we've made a decision that we weren't going to teach RHE as it should be taught, because we just felt that we needed that face-to-face contact with their known adults, as the subjects are sensitive, and a lot of the children can be particularly emotive with some of the subjects if it's to do with parents, splitting up, you know, changes, all those sorts of things. So how we've kept it going is I do a weekly video assembly and I tackle that topic, whether it's coping with change or whatever it was families, committed relationships. I would do that weekly, and now the children are coming back to school from the 8th, we're going to block teach the topics that we've missed and then catch up with ourselves, because we just felt that contact, that face-to-face contact, was really important. Yeah,
and Lucy was saying that, wasn't she, in her presentation earlier on, I think. And when you, I mean, this is, I'll sort of come back to Shiv briefly, if I may, and then we'll come again to you, Sam. I'm particularly interested to hear in how you track the positive impact of this program, of your teaching and the discussions that you have, and how will you do that, or how have you been doing that, and how will you continue to do that when everybody's back, Shiv, in terms of showing the impact of what you're doing?
That's a really difficult question.
I know.
Really difficult. So we don't have any official way of doing that. We don't. There are pieces that we record in the book, so those are things that you'll see. Right. But actually, it's all about how they're feeling and what they're feeling and how they're expressing their opinions. For me, it's seeing happy children. It really is seeing happy children.
Yeah, quite right.
Happy children that can express themselves, and you'll see over a term that they get to express themselves even more freely as it goes on, giving them that safe environment to do that. We will obviously continue to teach RSE throughout, just to always give them that opportunity to talk, but an actual way of showing it, measuring it, we haven't got in place. No, it's about us just seeing and observing and seeing how they
observing
to the subjects.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to reduce it into some measurable percentages and things. That would be no bizarre thing to do. But
it's a hard thing to do, because it is about how they're feeling and their well-being. I mean, we do want to measure their well-being, but I think we do that through talking to them,
through discussions. Yeah. And how is it for you then, Sam, in terms of tracking the efficacy of what you're doing?
I think there's a balance between the children being able to talk and the emotional side of the content of it, but also there's a lot of knowledge that they need to be learning, which we do need to ensure that they do remember. So at the moment we're using impact catchers, whereas at the beginning of the topic, the children will kind of do a mind map of what they know about, maybe it's smoking, if that's what we're learning about. And then we will measure that again at the end of the topic, and we'll use on the slides where you have the keywords, we'll be using those keywords and just checking, do the children understand those keywords that have been introduced over the course of the topic? Can they use them correctly? Do they understand the implications of those words? So that when they revisit those topics, as they do each year, they'll have that knowledge and be building on that knowledge each year.
I think a lot of people on this call will be very interested in the phrase impact catcher. What does that look like? Is it a page? Is it a series of questions?
Yes. So each child, I mean, the younger children are kind of producing things that are more class-based. They'll do it with an adult maybe scribing it, but generally you'd have like a mind map, the topic in the middle, and how many things can they think of to do with that topic. Let's take smoking again. And then at the end of the topic, we'll have the same activity again, and we'll just look side by side. Some other teachers have done the same map. So they've had the mind map to start with, but then at the end of the topic, the child will do it in a different colour, and we can see the additional knowledge that child has acquired through the topic.
Brilliant. Yeah, and that can actually show progress, can't it?
It can, and I just think, going back to those key words, I think it's important we
I
are
agree with that.
the knowledge some way, because actually these are all really important life skills the children are learning, and we need to make sure they understand what is being taught.
And language is so central to that, isn't it? So central to that.
Absolutely.
Well, we're a little bit ahead of time, which is quite good. So I'm going to just wander off script a little bit and just sort of, as I always do, and maybe just talk to you briefly about the actual health and relationships program itself. And I'm really keen to know which functions and features have been particularly helpful or will be particularly helpful, do you think, in the delivering of RHE in the classroom? Shiv, you've had the chance, I hope, to sort of have a look at the health and relationships program and maybe deliver some lessons from it. How have you found it helpful? As honest as you like.
I mean, the children, we asked the children after we trialled it out back in June 2015, in the summer when we trialled it. And the biggest thing that they enjoyed was the videos.
Definitely.
Pitched to them. It's delivered by them as well. It's delivered by young adults, you know, which they can relate to, rather than an adult trying to tell them something in the classroom. It's delivered by people who they think they can relate to, you know. So I think the pitch of the videos is perfect for our children throughout the different key stages, throughout the year groups, should I say. Also, the resources, they're all there. So it's just literally printing it off and going and
go.
It is all there. So when we trialed it, we all said yes, no, this is what we want to do. So
There's a cracking video. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Shiva, because I'm not familiar with which year group you're assistant head teacher, I realise, but you might be assigned to a particular year group. But I think it's in the year 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's in the year 3 where there's a brilliant. I mean, there's video. I should say there's films, and you're going to see in the session that follows this a proper walkthrough of the whole program. But there's a terrific film on similarities and differences, and where the children are presented with 2 adults, a young lady and a young gentleman, and they're asked to guess what they do for a living. And it's really interesting to hear what some of the young children say they think the lady does for a living and what they think the man does for a living. And then, of course, at the end, there's this glorious big reveal, and they find that the lady's a Formula One racing car driver, and the gentleman is a ballet dancer, brilliant ballet dancer.
I haven't come across that.
And he's in school, ready, waiting for them. So the teacher says, after we've seen this, do you want to find out what they do? We see this amazing video from this lovely lady who's a brilliant racing car driver. And then we switch to the man, and they say, well, he's not actually on the video. He's in the school hall waiting for you. It's brilliant. And there he is, and he does a fantastic routine. Anyway, I digress, but I mean, I can see why you said it's the videos that the children that they find most appealing, because they're age appropriate and they're fun, you know, I think, which is great. Sam, what do you think? What elements do you find the same?
I mean,
hit the spot?
What Shiv's saying, for the children, I think it's the videos, but it feels like a different lesson to their other lessons. It feels like something special, something unique. They like the fact that you sit in a different place, because we have sort of sitting differently. We have the rules about listening to each other and not interrupting. So immediately they're excited because it feels like a different kind of lesson. The teachers love it because it's all there. They don't have to research anything, and the content is really good. So the children are really happy. The teachers are really happy. It works really well at our school.
Great. Well, I really, really hope that you're able to find some time to yourselves over the Easter holidays. I don't think you'll find it until then. But I really do. Whilst we might not be jumping on a plane and going to Cyprus, I hope, I really, really hope that you're able to recharge your batteries, because I know we haven't been on the doorstep at 8 o'clock every week applauding teachers in the same way that we have rightly for the NHS. An applause to you over the waves here. I have 4 children, and I tell you what, their teachers have been so dedicated. It's just been extraordinary. And like I think you said to me when we last chatted, Sam, unless I'm completely mistaken, that it is rather like this swan, isn't it, that gently glides across. I'm pretty sure you said that.
I did.
Exactly. Underneath.
That's what my legs are doing.
Absolutely right. And people need to remember that, I think. So, big thank you from me as a parent for keeping these children chivied on, you know. Brilliant. Well, we'll give you your time back now, and doubtless you've now got an entire evening of work to do. So thank you for that we could share your time for the last half hour. So thanks ever so much for joining us.
Lovely. Thank you for having us.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Terrific. Terrific. Well, that was so interesting, wasn't it? I mean, it really was. It really was, hearing real, authentic stories from passionate, caring teachers who recognise the importance of this curriculum and the value and the timeliness of it as well, I think, no less.